And we are live. Welcome to Olivia's Stories, ladies and gentlemen. Story number 1. Sometimes it's not good to say the truth. Some truths are better left untold. I told my husband about my 8 weeks affair, and that has ruined everything for me. Well, I didn't expect him to react the way he did. His reaction was over-exaggerated. He ruined my childhood memories. I thought that telling him the truth would at least make him a little bit compassionate and let him calm down. Instead of calming down, he just decided to do something I never expected him to do. Hi guys, my name is Becky. I am 23 years old, and I have been married to my husband for 3 years now. During the past 3 years of our marriage, my husband has been very busy, and he hardly stays at home. I have been very lonely, and most times I feel disconnected from him. The past 3 years have been depressing because I thought my husband was going to be present in my life. But rather, he has been very far from me. I needed to feel loved and appreciated, but he's the opposite. The name of my husband is Andrew, and he is 28 years old. He is a surgeon, and he is very busy. The nature of my husband's job requires long hours of work, and he comes back home late. Sometimes he's always on night shifts and comes back home the following day. There are days I don't get to see Andrew before he leaves for work. Even on weekends, my husband works more at the hospital, leaving me lonely at home. This has caused a bridge in our relationship as we don't spend quality time like normal couples do. His hectic work schedule has made it difficult for Andrew and I to have normal conversation. We don't usually go on regular dates like we used to when we were still dating or attending functions together. Now Andrew is like a stranger, and I barely get to see him. This is not what I signed up for. I never signed up for this. I know his work is very important to him, and I'm not trying to be selfish. But this has mentally drained me. I have tried everything to make this marriage work. I even tried to have a conversation with Andrew about it, but he keeps talking about the nature of his job. There was even a day I waited for my husband to come back home for us to talk, but he made up an excuse that he was tired and not ready to have a back and forth with me. Yes, guys, you read that right. Andrew said it. Me trying to have a conversation with someone I'm married to is now making me look like a troublesome wife, or someone that always gives her husband a hard time when he comes back home. It seems like I am married to myself because I don't even know Andrew anymore. He wasn't like this when we were still dating. My husband was always giving me attention and everything I needed. Yes, I don't lack anything that would keep me comfortable at home or any material things, because my husband works for both of us. But still, I keep yearning for my husband's attention. Money is not everything, at least not to me. My husband doesn't want to understand that his wife also needs attention, like he always gives to his patients at the hospital. Andrew believes that all is fine with me because I have everything a wife could ask for in order to make her live comfortable at home. I don't even know the last time Andrew and I even attended a function together, or went out as normal couples. There was a time I had to attend a fundraiser all by myself. I felt so lonely looking at other couples that were present. It looked as if I was single. Some of Andrew's friends and mine kept asking why Andrew didn't come and why I came alone. I had to cover up for him. On many occasions like that, I do make excuses for Andrew. Sometimes I do feel like he's doing this on purpose or probably cheating on me with another lady. Who knows, maybe he's having an affair with one of his colleagues at work and using his work as a cover-up. On Andrew's birthday, I wanted to throw a surprise birthday party for him, so I invited some of our friends. I couldn't invite any family members because we live far from them, so I invited some of Andrew's friends and mine to help me surprise him on his birthday. On the morning of his birthday, I tried my best to wish him a happy birthday before leaving for work. We woke up that morning, I told him a happy birthday, and even sang a birthday song for him. He was happy, and I could tell he was smiling before he left for work. As soon as he left, I made a few calls and started the arrangements. I rented a hall and decorated it with help from our friends. To make it more unique, I baked a nice, lovely cake for Andrew. I made all the arrangements for food and drinks for those that would be present. I sent out a message instructing them not to let Andrew know about it so as to not ruin the surprise. Everyone complied and didn't let Andrew know of it. Everything was set. Everyone arrived at the venue 30 minutes to the time. The party was scheduled at 8 o'clock and everyone was present by 7:30. The saxophonist and the music band were also present. It all went according to how I planned it to be. Now, the only person to be present there was the birthday celebrant, Andrew. They were all eager to see the celebrant. I brought out my phone to put a call through to him, informing him to come to the venue. I wanted my husband's 28th birthday to be a memorable one for him, and at least it was my own little way of showing him how much I loved and still love him. Andrew was never like this before. I have no problem with him working, but his nonchalant attitude and lack of attention is what is draining me mentally and emotionally. All of this started when my husband got promoted at his workplace. I'm not trying to say Andrew's promotion is bad or something, but it has brought more harm than good. Well, to me at least. I barely see him at home. So guys, I brought out my phone to put Andrew through on the phone since he was the reason for the event. The first 2 minutes I tried, Andrew's line was unreachable. I kept my cool and continued trying his lines. I was desperate to reach him. After a few minutes of not being able to reach Andrew, I called the attention of Andrew's friend, Stanley. Stanley and Andrew have been friends since childhood, and they are very close in their friendship. I told Stanley about the situation that I can't get his friend on the phone because his lines were unreachable. He pulled me to a corner in the hall so we wouldn't create a scene and told me to calm down so that he would try to call him. Stanley also tried Andrew's line, but it was still not reachable. At that point, a lot of thoughts ran through my mind. What if Andrew had taken the supposed lady he was cheating on me with to a nice restaurant to celebrate his birthday? Meanwhile, I was there wasting my time to pull up a birthday surprise for him. I was lost in deep thoughts until Stanley told me that I should send him a text message and try calling him again. I tried calling him again, and this time, it went. I was very happy because Andrew's lines were reachable. I was very excited and anxiously waited for him to pick up his phone. I kept calling and texting him, hoping that Andrew would pick his calls. My husband didn't pick up nor return any of my messages. This also added to my frustrations, and I was completely pissed. Stanley also tried calling him multiple times but still got no response from him. I noticed that the guests were already complaining and asking what was going on. It's been an hour already and there was no glimpse of the celebrant in the hall. Stanley told me to keep trying Andrew's line while he took care of the guest. Well, somehow Stanley managed to convince the guests and returned back to where I stood. We kept trying his lines and we still got no response. It was very bad, guys. I'm not even joking. I was extremely embarrassed. At that point, it was not funny anymore. How could I invite my friends and Andrews to come out and surprise him only for him to delay like that? All my efforts were practically in vain. What did he expect me to tell all those people present there? My husband, whom I pulled out this surprise for, is not picking up his calls or returning any messages. Omg. I didn't believe what was happening back then. It was 9:30 o'clock and Andrew was still nowhere to be found. The guests started leaving in their numbers, feeling disgusted at how I managed to waste their time to come to a birthday party that the celebrant was not even in attendance. At that time, it felt like I should hide my face because of the nasty comments. All the guests left, leaving Stanley and I in the empty hall. I felt betrayed and was very angry with how things turned out. Stanley told me to go home and that he would take care of things there. I drove home weeping and cried my eyes out. I kept asking myself what I had done to deserve all of that. I kept asking myself why Andrew suddenly changed. We weren't like that before, so what changed? Those were the thoughts in my head as I drove home weeping. I got home and managed to get to the bedroom waiting for Andrew to come. A few minutes later, Andrew returned back. He met me all sobbed up and asked what was wrong with me. I asked him where his phone was and he brought it out. Guys, my husband's phone wasn't on silent or anything. I asked him if he didn't see my calls or messages, but he said he was sorry that he couldn't pick calls or return any text messages at that time. He didn't ask why I had to call him continuously like that or tried to be remorseful about it. Andrew and I got into a heated argument that night. I told him how I went out of my way to plan a birthday surprise for him and also invited friends to come celebrate with him, only for him to blow it up. Andrew also made the usual excuse, I was very busy with work. I was very disappointed and irritated, so I left the room. A few weeks went by, and Andrew's late night shifts grew worse. It was as if my husband was purposely made for that profession alone. I no longer sat with my husband to watch movies, We stopped eating together. We also stopped doing our normal daily routine. It was hell. I'm a full-time housewife. Before we got married, Andrew and I discussed that I stay at home while he works to fend for the both of us. I agreed to it, but I never thought it would turn out this way. That was not the life I imagined, and I don't plan to continue to stay that way. I didn't have a problem staying at home taking care of my family and household. But it is frustrating when your partner doesn't give you attention or even try to carve out time for you two to bond as couples. I don't even remember when I last received a gift from my husband. I'm sure he must have forgotten about the date of our anniversary. If he could not come to his own surprise birthday party, I was sure he wouldn't come for the anniversary. I couldn't continue to deal with this nonchalant behavior that Andrew had developed. I got tired and frustrated. Ways of communicating with my husband were completely poor. He didn't pick up his calls or return any text messages, and when he came home late at night, you couldn't discuss anything with him. The sudden change made me seek attention elsewhere, so I cheated. Yes, guys, I cheated on Andrew. I started going out with an old-time schoolmate of mine while I was still at college. His name is Patrick. Patrick was a year ahead of me in college, and he was one of the most handsome guys in school. One day, while I was scrolling through the news feed on Facebook, I received a friend request from Patrick, and I accepted without having any intention of doing anything with him. We started chatting for a few weeks, telling each other about how our day went. Our chats intensified, and we exchanged contacts. Patrick and I started texting, calling for late hours, and sometimes Patrick came visiting to keep me company. From what started with an innocent hi, Patrick and I became very close, and we went on a couple of dates together secretly. Yes, guys, Patrick knew I'm married but didn't know Andrew, so we kept our relationship private. This went on for a couple of months, and it felt like I was getting myself back. I forgot I was even married for a long time due to how Andrew had treated me in the past. Patrick gave me all the attention I was begging Andrew for. He noticed every little detail and made sure to put a smile on my face. It felt surreal because I never thought that someone could listen to me or give me the maximum attention I was yearning for. I was beginning to feel like Patrick was the one for me, and gradually I forgot about Andrew. I never planned to cheat on my husband or do anything to strain our marriage. Andrew couldn't see that his late night shifts and constant late coming at night had caused a bridge in our marriage. He wasn't able to balance the time between personal life and career work together. Yes, I blamed Andrew for this. I blamed him for choosing his work over his wife and giving me less attention than he gave to his work. I didn't regret going out with Patrick. At least I have felt alive for the last couple of months now. Last Friday around noon, my husband came back from work with some bags that he probably must have gotten some stuff from the store. I was surprised to see Andrew coming back home early at that time. He never comes back home in the afternoon. In fact, sometimes when he left for work till the following day. He approached me with the bags and handed it over to me and said he got them for me. I looked confused and asked him if everything was okay with him, and he said yes. Guys, Andrew got me a dress, wristwatch, a bag, and a shoe. He told me to put them on so we could go out for dinner. Yes, dinner. My husband wanted to take me out for the first time in a long time. I lost count of the last time he took me out. It was a bittersweet moment for me. It was bitter in the sense that I was already going out with someone else, and at the same time it was sweet, because my husband had started making out time for us. So guys, Andrew kept on with the sudden behavior. He started taking me out, buying me lots of gifts, went on a couple of dates, and attended functions together. Literally, we started spending quality time together as couples do. He didn't come home late at night any longer, and his night shifts were reduced. On the day of our anniversary, Andrew threw a surprise party for me and promised to rewrite all his wrongs and apologized for the way he had treated me. I was happy that my husband had started realizing where he got it all wrong, and he was ready to make it right again. I lived in those moments for a very long time before I realized that Andrew had no idea of my infidelity. He didn't know that I cheated on him when he failed to give me attention. I know you all would be wondering what happened between me and Patrick, right? Well, nothing really happened. Patrick and I continued meeting each other as usual. I thought Andrew's sudden change was temporary, but it grew strong for months. He doesn't usually go to work on weekends anymore, so we used it to watch movies and cook together. I missed those days when me and Andrew used to cook, clean, and do other house chores together. It was great back then. We used to be so close together not until he got promoted at work, leaving me lonely at home and not giving me the attention I needed. The last few months were great for me because I finally got the attention I needed from my husband, and we bonded so well together. On the other hand, Patrick, my affair partner, wanted more from me. He complained that I gave him less attention and ignored him ever since Andrew started giving me attention. Well, yes, he was right about that. Andrew's new change made me rethink my actions. I felt so guilty. But then again, it wasn't my fault from the start. I gave deep thoughts about this mess I have drawn myself into and planned on telling Andrew. I wanted to also make things right again by letting my husband know that I cheated on him with one of my schoolmates, Patrick. I don't know why, but the guilt killed me inside. I called Patrick and ended things with him. I told him I couldn't continue with the relationship anymore, and I wanted to fix things up with Andrew. This didn't sit well with Patrick. He kept on calling and texting me to have a change of mind. I blocked his lines and ended all forms of communication with him. I also warned him not to come and visit me anymore because Andrew was constantly at home these days. Few weeks after breaking up with Patrick, I felt so uneasy and guilty. Andrew's presence and his lack of knowledge about his wife's infidelity was killing me inside. If Andrew should know about it, it shouldn't be from any other person except I tell him the truth myself. I tried on many occasions to let him know, but I guessed I was too scared of how his reactions would be. So, guys, I couldn't continue with the guilt any longer, so I waited for a perfect opportunity to tell my husband. One day, Andrew and I were sitting at home watching a movie together, and I summoned courage to tell him about how I had been having an affair with Patrick for 8 weeks now. I felt uneasy, but I noticed that he was so focused on the TV he was watching and didn't notice that I was fidgeting. Out of nervousness, I took the remote and paused the TV. Andrew was surprised by my actions and asked what was so important that I wanted to discuss with him that I had to pause what he was watching. He sat facing and asked me what was making me feel uneasy. I finally got courage, and I told him everything about my affair with Patrick. I noticed the look on Andrew's face while I was telling him everything. He got so furious to the extent of him throwing the glass of wine in his hands to the wall. The more I told him about what had transpired between me and Patrick, the more Andrew began breaking things he laid his hands on. I became very scared that I had to run out of the house and went to stay with my sister, Trisha. I told Trisha all about the situation and the reason why I cheated on my husband, Andrew. At first, Trisha was very angry with me for hiding such an important matter from her. All this while, but later tried to calm me down. She suggested I call my husband so she could have a word with him so he might calm him down. I tried calling Andrew, but he didn't pick up or return any of my messages. Trisha and I tried calling him for 30 minutes but had no response from my husband. My sister told me to get some sleep so that we could continue trying his lines the following morning. I woke up before Trisha and started calling Andrew. For a few minutes, the lines were reachable, but at some point, it wasn't reachable any longer. I kept on trying, but it seemed Andrew had blocked me on all platforms. I couldn't reach out to him. I wanted to talk to him and explain the reason for my actions. Weeks went by, and all communication from Andrew was not possible. So, Trisha decided to go with me to the house. On getting there, we saw Andrew trying to enter his car to drive out from the compound. I quickly ran to him, but all efforts to make him talk to me were all in vain. Andrew smacked the car door right in my face and instructed our gatekeeper to throw me out immediately before he drove out from the compound. I was completely shattered and heartbroken. How did I end up like this? Andrew couldn't even look at me twice. I guess I disgusted him at that moment. I left with Trisha feeling heartbroken. I couldn't go back to the place I called home. I practically used my hands to destroy the little family I was starting to build. My marriage of 3 years was gradually coming to end right before my eyes in seconds. I wished Andrew could listen to me and know that all that happened were as a result of his late-night shifts, hectic work schedule, and his lack of attention. He prioritized his work and gave me less attention. I wanted to tell him how he made me beg for his attention and how his absence at home killed me silently. I am now beginning to regret telling him the truth. How could he do this to me after telling him the truth, and I refused to keep him in the dark? But guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg because Andrew took revenge, and he did so in a very wicked way. Now, I didn't know that I was practically living with a very dangerous human being. Yes, he's bound to react after learning about the infidelity, but not in the way he did. He did something unexpected and wicked. His revenge completely shattered me. It was as if he planned everything perfectly all along and waited for me to fall right into his trap. I think he suddenly started staying off from work so he could trick me into telling him the truth by myself. Maybe he already suspected and just wanted to confirm, and I was stupid enough to fall right into the charade. I guess my lesson is well learnt now. Few months went by and I didn't hear anything from Andrew, and I really wanted to fix things. So I got angry and left for his place. On getting there, the gatekeeper didn't allow me enter the compound because he was instructed by Andrew not to let me in. I tried pleading with him, but he refused. I guessed that he wasn't ready to allow me in, and Andrew must have let out strict instructions not to let me into the house. After much back and forth with the gatekeeper, I managed to find myself in the compound. I hurriedly escaped the gatekeeper and went into the house. I inputted the old passcode, and it seemed like Andrew hadn't changed the passcode yet. I felt a little bit emotional after getting into the house because I had missed my home. Everywhere had been quiet, and I didn't find Andrew inside, but his car was outside at the parking lot. I proceeded further and went inside our room hoping to see Andrew, but I didn't. I just guessed that he must have stepped out before I got into the neighborhood. I spent a while wallowing in self-pity before I realized that my side of the closet had been empty. I thought there was something in my eyes, and I had been seeing starts, but I realized that I was actually seeing, well. Nothing that belonged to me was left in the house, and that really came as a big shock to me because the last time I checked, I didn't have time to pack my things before I left the house. I had to run out of the house because I was scared Andrew would hurt me. I was using my sister's clothes while I stayed with her. Not even my bags, clothes, or shoes remained. All my childhood photos and even my boxes were gone. The room looked like I'd never even stepped in before. I was very surprised, and I swear that if Andrew had been present, I would have literally shredded him to pieces. I had been looking forward to grabbing some clothes to wear because I was tired of using my sister's clothes. Andrew really did me dirty on that one, and I furiously waited for him to get back. All the fear I had in me actually disappeared, and I no longer felt scared of being alone with him. After almost 30 minutes of waiting and getting disturbed by the gatekeeper who was scared of Andrew finding me in his house, I finally heard the front door open. I ran downstairs hastily because I thought that Andrew was finally back. But I didn't see Andrew there. Instead, I saw a tall woman standing there. I was very surprised, and I asked her if she was lost. That was the only reasonable explanation I could come up with because I couldn't understand why a random stranger was at the door. The lady actually laughed and directed the question back to me. She asked me if I was the one last. I got angry and asked her who she was. She introduced herself as Andrew's girlfriend. I actually laughed and waited for her to tell me she was joking, but she never did. My world literally shattered all over again. The realization that Andrew had a girlfriend broke my heart. I started imagining different scenes, and it was very bad. I imagined that she was the same woman he might have been cheating on me with. I don't know if I was just thinking too much, but I was not in the right frame of mind to make any decision. The lady had the audacity to ask me to leave. I introduced myself as Andrew's wife, but she told me she already knew that. She then had the audacity to tell me I was soon to be the ex-wife. I won't even lie, guys. I wanted to pounce on her right there and then, but I just had to control myself. I asked her if she was the one that cleared my clothing and kept them somewhere. She said yes, so I asked her where they were. She actually laughed mockingly before telling me that Andrew had given everything to her and he told her to do whatever she liked with it. So she sold off most of them and threw the rest away. I didn't think twice before grabbing her shirt in that very moment. All sane thoughts left me, and all I wanted to do was just make sure I scarred her with my nails. I grabbed her hair and asked her where she kept my childhood pictures, and she told me that she burnt everything. I swear that I was very angry, and I almost removed the hair on her scalp. She tried fighting back, but I was far much bigger than her, and she was in a state of shock. I can't believe that Andrew had the audacity to do that to me. How could he let a stranger take care of my belongings? How could Andrew keep a total stranger in charge of my childhood pictures? The clothes, bags, and boxes don't matter as much as those pictures. Not even the jewelry and makeup hurts me like those pictures. I lived with my stepfather and mother all my life because my dad died before I was born. My stepfather was not the best father to me, and I counted down the days till I got married and was independent enough to live that house. I took all my pictures with me because I didn't want to live any picture with them. That's why it hurts me so much that Andrew gave those pictures to a total stranger. There is nothing anyone could tell me. Andrew knew of the attachment I had with those pictures, and that's why he did what he did. I've spoken to him about it before, and I know that he intentionally decided to make that decision. While I was still trying to pull the lady's hair, Andrew walked into the house. He rushed towards us and separated us immediately. Apparently, the gatekeeper had called him while he was at work and told him that I was at the house. I asked Andrew why he did what he did, but he refused to give me an answer. He grabbed my hand and dragged me out of the house immediately. He told me to leave the house and never come back again. I was shocked that he had taken the side of a total stranger instead of listening to me first. I actually started crying because I could not believe that Andrew could do that to me. I never expected such a wicked thing from him. I asked him why he gave that lady the right to burn my childhood pictures, and Andrew told me that he could not care less whatever happened to me. I asked him if he was aware because his answer was the only thing that would determine my next action. He said he was aware and that he gave the orders. I slapped him on the face, and he was very surprised of the act. He tried coming at me later, but the gatekeeper grabbed his hand and stopped him from acting. Nothing he ever did to me pained me just like what he did. How could he do that? My childhood all gone. I left the house, and that's the last time I had seen Andrew. I decided to go to my stepfather and mother's house because my sister could hardly manage to feed the both of us. When I got there, I got another shock of my life. I discovered that Andrew came to my mother and stepfather, and he told them all about everything that happened between us. That was a very big blow to me because they are very religious people, and they do not tolerate infidelity or lies. They were not ready to accept me back into their house after what they heard. Even my own mother threw me out. I didn't expect anything good from my stepfather because we had never been close, but my mother really surprised me. I left the house and went back to my sister's place. I told her everything that happened, and she promised to help me out. I just told her not to worry about it and that I will move out in 2 months' time. It's been 2 weeks, guys, and I'm trying to find the best thing I can do for myself. The truth didn't save me at all. The truth just brought me more misery and pain. I regret telling him the truth. I should have just lied to him. Maybe that would have been the best thing to do. I guess once bitten, twice shy then. I don't plan on ever seeing Andrew again, and I will be filing for divorce. I waited for him to come with the divorce papers, but I haven't heard anything from him yet. Well, I will be filing the divorce, and I will definitely ask for alimony, spousal support, or whatever it's called. That man did me dirty, and I plan on trying my best. Update. The single life isn't as fun as you all make it seem. I'm not having as much fun as I thought the single life would be, lol. I never even thought I'd have fun in the first place, but I guess a little sense of humor is the best for the kind of hard life I'm living. For the first time in my life, I'm completely independent, and that's just one of the best things I've ever felt. I was in a hurry to leave my stepfather's house, so I got married as soon as I could. But now, I'm on my own and I'm learning what independence means. I filed for divorce, and our divorce was settled on 3 months. Andrew and his lawyer gave me a fair deal, and I was settled. My lawyer told me to take the deal immediately he saw it. I guess Andrew low-key understands just how much damage he caused me. It was a bittersweet feeling for me at the end of the day. I left my sister's house and rented out my own apartment. I have a CV and I graduated as an historian. I now work, and I've earned my first salary recently. Andrew and his new girlfriend have been going out a lot, and I've even seen pictures in social media. He has never been a social media person, but suddenly he's more than interested in posting pictures online. When he was with me, he was always extremely busy with work, and then he suddenly decided to start having time for social media. I even discovered that Andrew intentionally started giving me extra attention because his friend Stanley told him that there was possibility of me cheating on him if he didn't start giving me the kind of attention I craved. That's why he got scared of getting embarrassed and decided to give me attention in order to save his face among his friends. It was obvious that they had started talking behind his back after what happened at his birthday party, and he didn't want that. Anyway, I don't care anymore, and when Stanley came to meet me and tried to have a conversation with me, I refused to listen to him. I have no business with him anymore, and I don't want to have anything to do with him. Andrew is now my past, and I sincerely hope that I don't meet this kind of person in my life again. I regret telling him the truth, but I'm also happy I told him the truth. It's half sweet, half bitter, and I guess everything that happened was meant to happen all along. That's it, guys. I'm just working now, and I have to get to sleep early so I can wake up for work early. I don't want to be late. Thanks for accompanying me on this journey. I was married to this guy, or rather this jerk, as I like to call him now. His name was Luke. I loved him a lot until one day. He kicked me out of his life and replaced me with his secretary. All I did was be a little friendly with one of his friends. He did not like that I was throwing myself at other men, as he put it. I mean, that was the most ridiculous allegation he could have put on me. My husband had been the scariest thing that ever happened to me, and would not want anyone else to go through the shit I went through. I had trusted Luke with my deepest fears and vulnerabilities, hoping he would understand and support me. However, his reaction to a simple interaction with his friend made me question the depth of our relationship. It was disheartening to realize that he couldn't see beyond his own insecurities and trust issues. I am writing this post hiding from him in the bathroom as he is outside waiting for me to finish my business. I am scared of the consequences if he finds out about this. I am sending out this message to all of you to help me get out of this situation. I would trade anything for a simple and normal life away from him. I need suggestions on how I can get myself out of this situation. I can see myself going into a phase of depression, and I am losing my confidence. I am writing this post in the hope that someone out there might be able to help me in some way and motivate me to get out of this situation. But to be honest, I feel like it's getting more and more difficult as the days go by. Let me go back to the start and tell you where it all started from. My name is Angela, and I am 31 years old. I have been married to Luke for the past 10 years. He is also 31 years old. We got married when we were in our final year of college. At that time, Luke meant the world to me. He was the college football captain, and everyone idolized him. He had a big, bustling personality and was a college stud. As a result, all the girls of our college used to swoon over him and wanted to be his girlfriend. What helped me capture Luke's heart was that I was very attractive, and the best part was that he had eyes only for me. Even when the other girls tried talking to him, he would just keep looking at me from a distance. One day, as I was heading home after college, Luke came over to me and asked me out. I was slightly taken aback by his boldness, but at the same time I was overwhelmed that he actually came over and talked to me. I had always been smitten by him, but never had the courage to go and talk to him. I immediately said yes, as this was every girl's dream in college to be Luke's girlfriend. Our date led to many dates, and soon we were officially known as a couple in the entire college. Luke was an alpha in every sense of the word. He made sure that no other guy looked at me or talked to me. He made it very clear that I was taken, and no other guy was to be seen anywhere near me. What can I say? I loved him being so possessive and so involved in my life that it never occurred to me that this was in reality nothing but controlling behavior. I was so blind in love with him that everything he did looked romantic. Looking back, I realized that Luke's possessiveness and need for control were signs of an unhealthy relationship. It wasn't until later that I understood the importance of maintaining individuality and healthy boundaries in a partnership. After we finished college, Luke joined his father's business and proposed to me. It was just 6 months since we had been dating, but since I was already head over heels in love with him, I immediately said yes. We got married in less than a month. Things were pretty good at the beginning. I loved him being overprotective about me. He always accompanied me everywhere I went, be it shopping, meeting friends, or even to get a coffee. I adored the fact that he wanted to spend every single minute of his time with me. I found it very cute and attractive. I believed this is what true love looked like. I was too young to know that it was a toxic and controlling behavior. As time went on, I started to realize that his constant presence was suffocating. I began to feel trapped and unable to make decisions for myself. It took me a while to understand that true love should be based on trust and mutual respect, rather than possessiveness and control. I decided to talk to Luke about his behavior and get my individuality back. Before I got a chance to do that, his father got really sick. Luke was already too occupied by taking care of his father that I couldn't get myself to bring up this topic. His father passed away after 1 year of our marriage, and things got a little difficult for us financially. All of Luke's clients started disappearing after his father's death. I suggested that I could help with the finances by getting a job. This would in turn reduce the financial burden which Luke was carrying solely on his shoulders. He was against it at first, but as we were going downhill and things were getting really bad for us, he finally agreed to it. I started working at a cafe as a barista. My job was to be warm and friendly with customers while attending them so that they would visit again. One day, when I came home, I saw Luke sitting on the couch fuming with anger. He told me that he saw me smiling and chatting with a customer and asked me if that was the reason I wanted to work. I always knew that he had been very protective about me, but this was beyond limits. I told him that he was overreacting. I was doing my job. He laughed as if it was a joke and then asked me to quit. We were already in a hole financially. I tried to reason with him, but he told me that he could find other ways of making money. So there was no need for me to go out of the house with a job as an excuse. He insisted that I stay at home and focus on taking care of the household responsibilities. He told me that my beauty was just for him to take pleasure from, and no other man was allowed to do that. I explained to him that my job was for our financial stability and not for me to display my beauty. I might have gotten the job because I looked attractive, but I still had to do my work to keep my job. He never understood the point I was making and asked me to either quit or leave the house. With not much of a choice, I decided to quit my job and be a dutiful wife. This, I believe, was the biggest mistake I made. I should have left when I had the opportunity. It would have saved me from everything else I had to go through for the rest of the years with Luke. Our financial issues had caused a lot of stress, which led Luke to lose his hair early and develop a potbelly due to lots of drinking. He had turned from a hot and handsome hunk to average-looking middle-class man in his 30s. Whenever we went out, everyone stared at us and thought how such an average-looking man could get such a good-looking woman as his wife. This made him lose a lot of confidence, and he started acting even more possessive than he already was. My home had become my prison. I was allowed to go out only on occasions which worked in Luke's favor. Apart from that, I was to sit at home and do nothing else. I had become his slave who was to stay at home, take care of things, satisfy his desires, and only do things that made him happy. Luke's insecurity and possessiveness had taken a toll on our relationship. The once vibrant and adventurous love we shared had been suffocated by his controlling behavior. I was so scared of his anger that I never once went against his will. He was the only one that I had to support me, so I never even dared to question his actions. I yearned for freedom and independence, longing to break free from the confines of my own home. A few years passed, and Luke started doing well in his business. He was losing his charm as the good-looking and handsome young man that he was, so he came up with a plan. He would use me to lure new customers to sign up for his business. I would accompany him to his business parties where he would show me off as an art piece that he had collected. I was his trophy wife, and he knew the way men looked at me. He would use it to his advantage. The only time I could use my attractiveness was for him to get more deals and more clients. He was a hypocrite, to be exact. He used my beauty but never let me go out by myself. He had this constant fear that I might run away and never come back. He forced me to take care of my body in a way that could benefit him. I felt like I was also a part of his business, a showpiece that he could display to earn more money. I felt trapped and depressed, but there was no way he would understand the way I felt. I longed for independence and freedom, but his possessiveness only grew stronger with time. It became clear that my feelings and well-being were secondary to his selfish needs. I yearned for a life where my worth was not defined solely by my appearance, but breaking free from his control seemed impossible. One day, there was a huge party that Luke had organized to celebrate the merger of his friend's company with his company. It would be a grand event where everyone that had been associated with both the companies would be invited. As usual, Luke had instructed me to dress my best to charm everyone around him. He picked out everything for me. My dress, makeup, jewelry, and shoes. Everything was finalized by him. I didn't even try bothering to argue with him after all these years, as I knew it would be futile. I knew that there was no point in banging my head against a wall. I had been thinking of ways to set myself free from Luke's control. I was getting ready when suddenly I thought of something that I could do that might help me achieve it. I knew that this was the only way I could get a little relief from the prison I was forced to stay in. We both entered the party with the facade of a couple deeply in love. By this point, I had mastered the art of faking to be deeply in love with Luke. The only good thing about this marriage was that Luke never cheated on me. Though he was overpossessive and tortured me by treating me like a robot, he never once looked at any other woman. I guess that was the only reason I put up with everything he made me go through for all these years. As we walked in, I realized that maybe he was with me for the same reason. I had never even once crossed the line with all these men he made me meet. I was very clear in my approach that I was happily married and did not like anyone getting clingy or a little too personal. Today, I decided to let go of my guard and see how Luke reacts to it. I was anyway going to be in hell after going home. Why not loosen up a little at least during the party? As I kept meeting people, I started to think who I should choose out of all these men that will enrage Luke the most. I finally settled on his friend Liam, who was the second most important person at this party. He would be a perfect fit as he could not leave until the party ended. As the night went on, I noticed Liam becoming more and more intrigued by my presence. His eyes lingered on me, and I could sense his curiosity growing. I couldn't help but feel a mischievous thrill, knowing that Luke would surely be provoked by this unexpected connection forming between his friend and me. I walked towards Liam and congratulated him for the merger. He thanked me and was about to leave when I asked him how he was feeling about working with his longtime friend Luke. He started talking about it, and I tried to look if I could find Luke somewhere in the crowd. I finally spotted Luke talking to the servers about the arrangements, probably. I looked at Liam and started laughing and asking him to share a few more of their childhood stories. Liam was very happy to talk about his friendship with Luke that went way back to when they were in school. I could see Luke walking towards us, and I laughed very loudly just to make sure that Luke saw all this. Luke walked towards us and pulled me away, which definitely raised a few eyebrows from the people that were around us. Liam looked shocked at Luke's behavior. Luke smiled and told me that he wanted to steal me for a minute to talk about something. I knew that I had riled up Luke, and all this drama with Liam had definitely rubbed Luke the wrong way. As we walked away, I could sense the tension between us. Luke's face was furious, and I braced myself for the conversation that was about to unfold. Luke composed himself and told me that it was time for me to leave the party, and said that he could manage hosting the party on his own from here on. I insisted that I could help him by staying till the end. He started walking with me towards the main door, called the driver, and asked him to take me home. I went to my room and changed into comfortable clothes. I was very happy to have accomplished this little task of getting Luke angry. What happened next was something that I wasn't expecting at all. After the party was over, he came to our room and slapped me hard. He went on hitting me until I begged him to stop. I had no idea what I did so wrong that he started behaving this way. He told me that he saw everything that I was doing and told me that I was trying to sleep with his friend. I knew he was overpossessive, but this was even beyond his level. I mean, how he could call flirting as trying to sleep with his friend. Liam was cute and all, but the only reason I flirted with him was because Luke would be threatened by this. I never expected Luke's reaction to be so violent. It was clear that his jealousy had reached a dangerous point, and I couldn't understand why he would jump to such an extreme conclusion. My harmless flirting was merely a way to provoke him, and not an attempt to sleep with anyone. He had become an animal and would not even listen to anything that I had to say. After he beat me up, he asked me to sleep on the floor as he did not want such filth on his bed. He snatched away my phone and told me that he could take it away as he had bought it for me, and he had every right to take it back. I felt disgusted by his behavior. I was at least happy that I would not be forced to have sex with him tonight. That was the only good thing that came out of this. I took my pillow and a comforter and made my way towards the couch. I was so scared to even talk to him looking at his violent behavior. I made myself comfortable on the couch and lied down. Luke changed into his boxers and was lying on his bed. There was a knock on the door and he motioned me to open it. I opened the door and saw a young girl from the party still wearing her dress at the door. I looked puzzled and looked towards Luke, but he screamed for the girl to get in. I stood with the door open, waiting for her to complete her conversation with Luke and leave. To my surprise, Luke told her to sit beside him on the bed and started praising her beauty. He complimented that she had wonderful lips and went ahead and kissed them. My jaw dropped at what I was seeing and I screamed at Luke. He told me I could stand there holding the door the entire night or sleep, it was my choice. He told me that I might be attractive to get everyone's attention, but he had money and could easily have any woman he wanted without any problem. He even told me that he was not very happy with me sexually, but was with me because I was always loyal and never crossed my limits. But now that I have shown my true colors to him, he would not feel guilty about anything he would be doing going forward. I just stood there unable to understand what was happening. I was hoping all of this to be a really bad dream, and once I woke up, everything would be the same. After 15 seconds, I realized that all this was actually real and was happening because of a small mistake that I made by flirting with Liam. I closed the door and lied down on the couch. I could hear the moaning sounds of the girl, which was making it very difficult for me to even fall asleep. I knew that there was no point in asking Luke to stop doing all this and forgive me. I decided to talk to him in the morning when his anger had suppressed and explain to him why I did all of that. No, it took me a lot of tossing and turning and putting a pillow over my head to save myself from all the noise that was coming from the bed to finally fall asleep. When I got up the next morning, there was no one on the bed and no sign of the girl anywhere. I thought to myself, probably when Luke realized that I fell asleep, he must have asked the girl to leave, and there was nothing more than a few kisses that were exchanged between them. At this point, I don't even know why I so badly wanted Liam to be just with me and to be loyal to me even after all the toxic things that he had done to me. I brushed and then went downstairs to talk to Luke before he went to work. I saw Luke sitting at the table eating his breakfast, and I felt relieved that there was no one around him. I went and sat on a chair beside him, and just as I was about to hold his hand, I saw the girl from last night in inners, walking with a coffee pot towards Luke. She poured coffee by sitting on his lap right in front of my eyes. Luke behaved as if I was invisible and started kissing her. I was very angry and could not stop myself from asking Luke what the hell was happening. He told me that he was having breakfast and I was the one interrupting him. I asked him what the girl was doing on his lap. He laughed and told me that he had some discomfort in his leg and she was helping relieve his pain. I told him that it was not funny and I wasn't interested in any lame jokes early in the morning. He told me in all seriousness that these were the consequences for my actions from last night. If I would have behaved and obeyed him just like always, then he would have been my loyal and loving husband. Did he just call himself loving? Seriously? I wondered if my mission to get Luke riled up had backfired against me. I thought this would make him leave me, but instead he turned the tables on me and started cheating on me right in front of my eyes now. I felt a mix of anger and confusion as I watched him passionately kissing another woman. It was as if my attempt to provoke a reaction had only fueled his desire for revenge. At that moment, I realized the extent of his betrayal and questioned whether our marriage could ever be salvaged. In the next few days, I saw this girl behaving as if she was Luke's wife in front of my eyes, but I did not utter even a single word. He started treating me like a slave. I was not allowed to talk to anyone, go anywhere alone, or even decide what to wear. He started controlling all of my life decisions and would always accompany me wherever I went. He would not even let me go to the restroom alone. I was feeling so suffocated that at times, I felt it would be better if I just kill myself than to go through with this torture. I felt trapped and helpless, as if I had lost all autonomy over my own life. The constant surveillance and restriction took a toll on my mental well-being, leaving me desperate for an escape from this suffocating existence. The girl, by the way, was hired by Luke to assist him with his household chores. Now, this was something I had never heard of and knew that it was all bullshit. She was just here to cozy up with Luke and make me go crazy. I decided not to react to anything that they did to make me angry. No response was the best defense, and that would eventually stop Luke from doing all this nonsense. It worked for the most part. I would be lying if I said that it did not affect me at all. I would go in the bathroom and run the water and scream. I did not want Luke to know that what he was doing was actually affecting me. But deep down, I couldn't help but feel hurt every time Luke and she played their little games. Despite my efforts to remain composed, their actions still managed to chip away at my emotional armor. So, in those private moments of vulnerability, I allowed myself to release the frustration and pain that had built up inside me. I started feeling that my life was not as bad before all of this started. I was trapped, but at least I had mental peace. I decided to start writing a journal to keep myself sane. When Luke saw me busy and drowning myself in something that drew my attention away from the chaos around me, he threw my journal away. He told me that I was only allowed to look at them when they were around me. I didn't even have the freedom to watch TV or do anything else apart from what Luke wanted me to do. Luke's controlling behavior was suffocating, leaving me feeling trapped and exhausted. It became clear that he wanted to exert complete control over my thoughts and actions, further isolating me from the outside world. I made up my mind that I would tell my story to the world just to oppose Luke. Every time I went to the bathroom, I would write a little of this post and make sure Luke never got a hint of it. It has been 2 weeks since I started writing this post, and believe me, this is the only thing that is keeping me sane. I am hopeful that when this goes out, someone out there would help me get out of this situation. As I continue to write, I feel a sense of empowerment and liberation, knowing that my words hold the potential to expose Luke's control over me. Each bathroom visit becomes a clandestine act of defiance, fueling my determination to seek help and escape from this oppressive situation. With every passing day, my hope grows stronger that my story will reach someone who can offer assistance and bring an end to my isolation. Update 1. Thank you all of you for your wishes and prayers that had helped me come out of the prison I was in. Once I posted this message, I received so many responses from so many people who gave me a few suggestions and ideas about how I could free myself from my husband's fists. I ran away and hid myself at one of my friend's house. There was no way he would suspect me to be here. I had my friend take pictures of my face and other places where there were bruises from Luke hitting me. I decided to make sure he pays for the nightmare he had made me go through. I knew that the evidence I gathered would strengthen my case and protect me from any potential harm. With the support of my friend, I hired a lawyer and sent Luke the divorce papers. I was determined to break free from the cycle of abuse and regain control over my life. The divorce papers were not only a legal step, but also a symbolic declaration of my independence. As I awaited Luke's response, I focused on healing and rebuilding my self-esteem, knowing that justice would be served in due time. I felt empowered to take a stand against the abuse and fight for my rights, thanks to all the support I received from all of you guys. The love I received has helped me take such a big step without any doubts and negativity. I am grateful for the encouragement and belief that has been instilled in me, which has given me the strength to pursue a brighter future. With each passing day, I am reminded that I am not alone in this journey and that I have a network of unwavering support behind me. Update 2. It had been a month since I sent the divorce papers to Luke. I was getting anxious as I did not hear back from Luke. I couldn't help but wonder if he had received the papers or if he was intentionally avoiding responding. The uncertainty was weighing heavily on my mind, making it difficult to focus on anything else. I started looking out for work, but I wasn't able to land a decent job because I did not have the qualifications and the experience to be hired by a company. I did not give up and wanted to be independent and take charge of my life. I decided to enroll in some online courses and acquire the necessary skills to improve my job prospects. It was a challenging journey, but I was determined to prove myself and create a better future for myself. As I focused on my personal growth, I hoped that Luke would eventually respond to the divorce papers, allowing me to move forward with my life. I was taking up management lessons for better job prospects when I saw Luke and Liam leaving the building from a hotel. I hid myself in the crowd, as I did not want to be seen by Luke in the middle of the divorce. I was also working part-time as a barista to make up for my monthly expenses. I couldn't live with my friend forever. I would have to at least compensate for the groceries and any other personal things that I needed for myself. I was working in the cafe as usual after my classes. A man walked in for a coffee and told me that I looked too pretty to be a barista. I thanked him for the compliment and told him that I would get him his coffee to his table. He was working on his laptop and looked dressed up for a meeting. I took his coffee to him and saw that he worked for a company that I was eyeing to give an interview for. I took my chances and told him that I would be completing my management diploma soon, and I would really be interested in working with his company. He seemed intrigued and asked me about my experience and qualifications. I confidently shared my relevant skills and explained how my management diploma would be a valuable asset to the company. He nodded approvingly and mentioned that they were actually looking to hire someone with my background. He offered to pass along my resume and put in a good word for me to the hiring manager. Grateful for the unexpected opportunity, I thanked him sincerely and exchanged contact information, hopeful for a potential job opportunity. He called me the next day for an interview at his office. I was elated and wore my best professional clothes and went for the interview. I walked into his office and greeted him. He hired me without asking too many questions and did not even bother about me not having any previous experience. It was a little weird, but I decided to not think too much about it and go ahead with it. He told me that my job would be to assist him with his scheduling and day-to-day activities, which was more like a personal assistant. He just wanted someone attractive for this job and did not care about the experience. I thought for a while and said that as long as I have a decent pay, it was better to take the job than keep working my ass off as a part-time barista. I started working for my new boss, Damon, since a week ago. Luke responded to the divorce papers by filing adultery from my end. I submitted documents of him physically and mentally abusing me with evidence. I knew that Luke's story had no proof, and he was only trying to stretch this for as long as he could. I made it very clear that I do not need anything from him apart from the divorce. My lawyer assured me that things would be in my favor and I had nothing to worry about. I was grateful that my life was finally getting back on track both financially and mentally. I was to accompany Damon to one of his meetings, where I saw Luke as one of the people attending the meeting. I froze for a few seconds and even wanted to leave as I did not want to face him, but then I thought that I am going to face this bastard and look him in the eye. I would never, ever run away from him or be scared of him. I walked with an air of confidence and stood beside Damon. I focused on taking notes, which was my job. After the meeting, Luke walked to Damon and told me if he could talk to me in private for 5 minutes. Damon agreed, and I had no choice but to talk to him. We moved to an area with no one around. I was hoping for him to apologize to me. To my dismay, he said that he always knew that I would take advantage of my beauty to manipulate men for my advantage. I was taken aback by Luke's accusation, as it was completely untrue and very unfair. I calmly defended myself, explaining that my success was a result of hard work and intelligence, not manipulation or deceit. It was disheartening to realize that Luke had such a bad perception of me, but I remained composed and determined to prove him wrong. I decided that there was no point in making Luke realize that it was my hard work that got me here. Why the hell am I even trying to prove my innocence to Luke? We were in the middle of getting a divorce, and there was no reason for me to make him believe me. On the contrary, he was the one who actually made out in front of me with another girl. He was the one who should be sorry for his actions. Why should I even spend a single minute talking to him? I told him that I had nothing else to say to him, and if he had something, then he could contact my lawyer. I knew this irked him to the core, but that is what gave me satisfaction. I was no longer the submissive, low-confident woman who was head over heels in love with Luke and who would agree to do anything he asked of. After 2 months of denial from Luke, I finally received my divorce papers. I felt so light and free after such a long time. The weight of the past had finally been lifted off my shoulders, allowing me to breathe and move forward with a renewed sense of hope. I could now envision a brighter future ahead. It was a bittersweet moment, as I couldn't help but reflect on the lessons I learned and the personal growth achieved throughout this challenging journey. As I held the divorce papers in my hands, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. While there was a sense of relief and liberation, there was also a tinge of sadness for the end of a chapter in my life. However, I knew that this was a necessary step towards finding happiness and embracing new opportunities that awaited me. When I look back now, I feel like I wasted 10 years of my youth for a guy who married me just for my looks. He never loved me and made sure I remained his puppet for his entire life. I am slowly trying to pick up where I left. It is a difficult journey. Rebuilding my life after such a devastating experience requires immense strength and resilience. Despite the challenges, I am determined to reclaim my independence and find happiness on my own terms. Each step forward brings me closer to a future where I am no longer defined by someone else's actions or expectations. I want to show Luke that I don't need a man to provide for me. The immense hatred I have towards him is a constant motivation for me to strive and do better in life. I would like to thank you all for your support throughout my journey so far. You guys and your positive comments have helped me turn my life around for the better. I would always be grateful to all of your love and concern for my well-being. Your encouragement and kind words have truly made a difference in my life. With your support, I have been able to overcome obstacles and achieve things I never thought were possible. I am excited to continue sharing my progress with all of you and hope to inspire others along the way. Thank you once again for being there for me, and here's to a future filled with even more positivity and success. I would keep you updated with hopefully more positive stuff coming my way.